Dear friends, greetings to you from Bangalore, India, to all the scholars participants. I am here today to present to you our research on the effective stress management strategies for teaching faculty in Jesuit institutions. I am Father Olvin Viegas, a Jesuit priest and a research scholar at St. Aloysius deemed to be University, Bangalore, India. Along with me are the co-investigators, Dr. Caren Rodrigues and Dr. Anup Krishnamurthy. Both are the faculty members and researchers at St. Joseph's Institute of Management, Bangalore, India. Today's world, all of us go through stress. All of us are burdened with many things. However, the teaching faculty goes through a lot more difficulties and issues in their lives. The research that we have been doing is on this aspect, how the teaching faculty are able to cope up with the stress management. For this study, we have had our motivation due to many reasons. And we came up to this issue with the various angles. There are already a lot of researches have been done on this area of stress management in the workplace, etc. However, post-COVID phenomenon is a different one. In this context, we looked at what is that causing stress to our teaching faculty and how they are able to cope up with. So we looked at the basically the stress for educators, which is coming from various angles. It comes from teaching, the burden of teaching to the young kids and the adults, and they have to deal with various types of students which are digitally natives. The second one is research. Teaching faculty today is called to do a lot of research. They're supposed to write, publish, and also participate in various events, especially in conferences, and present themselves as they are capable of good educators. The third one is administrative service. The teachers are also burdened with administrative service, organizing, conducting various programs in the schools or the colleges. And this all lead to emotional exhaustion and burnout. So there are also various coping strategies which are prevalent in our society. Perhaps you go to a musical or participate in drama, get out to your relatives or friends, go for parties, or go out to see a museum, for example, or such other things. But also we looked at how Ignatian coping strategies could be another way of coping strategies. And our focus has been how the Ignatian spirituality, which has been very well known since the 16th century after St. Ignatius of Loyola, they can enable a person to be fully active in spite of the burdens of life. Ignatian philosophy, Ignatian pedagogy, and Ignatian spirituality are the main traits which have been enabling the Jesuits to work and do a lot of educational work around the world. They have come up with various ways and how they can deal with these issues, not only for themselves, but for others as well. And the context. What is the context for us, for our study? The context is the St. Joseph's Group of Institutions in Bangalore, India, which is managed by the Society of Jesus, or they're also called as Jesuits. And there are many schools as part of this group of institutions, and many educators who might be experiencing stress in their respective job roles. Therefore, the data was collected from 3 different schools. Totally 206 educators participated in this survey. Every year, the faculty members of Jesuit institutions in Karnataka go through a program called JESCOL, Jesuit Collaborators. It is meant for all the teachers of Jesuit schools, colleges, and university faculty members. What do we do there? There, we enable our faculty members to understand the Jesuit vision and mission in order to inculcate in them the sense of belonging to our Jesuit institutions. We organize these kind of 2 or 3 days of program. During this time, we try to our best to give them the history of the Society of Jesus, the spirituality, etc. The reason is this: we are living in a multi-religious society in India. Our faculty members come from Christianity, Hinduism, and Islam. Coming from different different religious backgrounds, we have the issues of trying to understand what we as Jesuits can do together. In order to focus and bring the best results in our institutions, we have these kind of programs which enable them to empower in our understanding and later to become collaborators, taking the positions of director or principal, vice principal, HODs, deans, etc. This way, we try to inculcate them a lot of sense that they belong to the institution and they are also very much part and parcel of Jesuit spirituality. What are the measures used for this purpose? All the scales were taken from existing literature and were tested for reliability and were found to be satisfactory. For example, Cronbach's alpha values were above 0.70 for all scales. And we found out that the independent variables, the scale for stresses was borrowed from Naono Nagatomo et al., 2019. And for moderators, the scale for general coping strategies was adopted from Carver. The scale for Ignatian coping strategies was developed for this study using an understanding of Ignatian values and philosophies. It comprises of 5 items, and Cronbach alpha for the scale was 0.77. And for dependent variables, both scales for job satisfaction and stress were measured through single item scales. The remaining dependent variables were measured through multi-item scale borrowed from Olvin et al. 2021, and lack of sleep was measured through 4 items. Depression was also measured through 4-item scale, and lastly, burnout was measured a comprehensive 9 items. Here, 5 pairs of models were tested. Model 1A, Model 1B here. The first one is stresses and stress for educators. And we looked at the coping strategies and how they work out. The second one is Model 1B. There are stresses, we know many of them, and stress for educators. And we inserted Ignatian coping strategies. And as we said, there are 5 of them are used, and they consist of many of them, including the examination of conscience. The examination of conscience, which is very much part of spiritual exercise of St. Ignatius, deals with a number of things. Recognizing God's presence in my life, thanking God, asking for God's forgiveness, and later on for all looking at the whole day's program, and finally thanking God and giving space for grace in my life. And this strategy seems to have worked very well for the people. And we saw that very interesting results. Only the model with stress as the dependent variable was significant, with stresses causing high stress in educators. Secondly, we saw that comparison between regular coping strategies and Ignatian coping strategies, that is 5 of them, and basically it is also to do with examination of conscience, and also we looked into participating in the lives of people by social concern, visiting the villages, and etc. This illustrates the advantage of using Ignatian coping strategies. Using Ignatian coping strategies brought down the stress by 0.76, and all else remained constant. It is a significant development. And finally, thus it is perhaps possible to use Ignatian coping strategies to help educators deal with stress in their jobs and therefore engender the holistic development of the educator. In other words, it has got a lot of possibility, gave a lot of scope for the further study, and perhaps we can do a lot more in order to reduce the stress in our teaching faculties. So with these thoughts, I conclude my little presentation. Thank you very much for listening. Namaste.